Hello, good afternoon, happy Sunday. How are you today? My name is Humble. I'm a Nigerian. How are you? I believe you're doing fine. I'm cooking, actually. But a woman has no special time to pursue other dreams. I just came back from church. It's time to cook. But I have other work to do. And I have another passion, my country, Nigeria. Though that's not the topic or what I'm talking about now, but because that's what we are doing now, that's the season we are in, the election seasons, and activities are building up to 2023 elections. Before I go into what I actually want to talk about today, I want to know if you have gotten your PVC, permanent voters card. Have you gotten your PVC? I'm chopping a lot of making stew, but I'm chopping a lot of garlic. I blended a lot of tomatoes, and I want to add a lot of garlic to it. That's my major spice for the day. It's just for you to understand what I'm cutting. It's not part of this video, but I'm just talking while I'm doing it. I have many children. I work while I work. I work while I cook. I do a lot of things while I'm doing other things. So what I want to talk about today is something that I feel I should talk about because it has come severally in discussions concerning relationships. I've had friends, colleagues, family, even acquaintances asking whether a lady can ask a guy out. I've been doing a lot of relationship talks and tutorials outside the social media, but I think it's time I bring some of the little knowledge to a wider population, and I'm choosing this as one of my platforms. Okay, Bridges is about relationships, all forms of relationships, because whether you go further in life, whether you go higher, lower, even destroyed, made, happy, they are all functions of your relationship. And that is why you don't have to leave any stone unturned when we talk about relationships. Can I ask a guy out? That's the question. Before I delve into it, have you gotten your PVC? Do you know it's election time? 8 months is a small time. Who is your choice candidate? Is the person your brother? Are you voting the person because he's your brother or from your ethnic faction? You might be making a mistake and you might need to reconsider. Please make sure that you help Nigeria come out of its woes and troubles. While we will buy our former leaders excuses, we might not buy ourselves excuses for not making right choices and for not taking advantage of a second chance. Please get your PVC, your permanent voters card. Make sure that this time, apathy will not overtake you when you say they have decided the candidates. I don't think so. I don't think they have decided the candidates. I'm trying to dry my tomatoes on a low heat, very low heat, because I'm not using the tin or the paste tomatoes. I'm using a generous amount of tomato. So I want it to cook properly or dry so that it will not be tacked, it will not be slapping me when I'm eating my rice, my Sunday rice. My children are waiting. Okay, that's by the way anyway. I'm just letting you know what I'm doing, but what's important to me is to make sure that we get it right this time around. Please participate. Be a good Nigerian. Save this country. When we save it, we will know either we can go back to our regional systems for efficiency, because the size and issues of Nigeria might seem too much for one leader. But that's a topic for another day. Thank you. So back to what we're discussing today, asking a guy out as a lady. Can I ask a guy out as a lady? That's the question they've always asked me. And you know, if we want to be attached to our tradition and even the religions we practice, it might look very, very bad, very unethical, or even very, which word do I use for it? Demeaning for a lady to ask a guy out according to how we've been socialized. But you know, when we do the same thing severally and expect that we won't cry for it, we might end up crying, because we live in a society where things are changing. A lot of things have changed over the times, and we can't continue living in the past. We cannot keep saying the way it has been, so shall it be, and so it shall continue to be. We might be left out in the scheme of events. Sorry, I need to reach out for something. We might be left out in the scheme of events. And while our mothers, while we are shouting, while we have refused to deal with it, those issues will keep coming up. What are those issues? Those issues are that in the today, some guys are not courageous enough to ask ladies out, and some ladies feel they cannot ask. If you are not courageous enough either on both sides, I'm going to be telling you a little bit of what you need to know if you are actually going to go into all that. My name is Humble. I'm your relationship coach. I handle different relationships. Number one, what you have to understand if you must ask a guy out, have to also admit that it's not an African culture. It's not our thing in Africa. It's unethical. But because of civilization, because of immigration, because of mixing up of cultures, we have started doing so many things we thought we couldn't do before now. And one of them is asking a guy out as a lady. If you're going to do that, you must make sure, number one, that you define the motive. Why am I asking this person out? You have to be sure of what you are out for, and you have to make sure that it's a harmless one. It might be ridiculous to leave out the fact that a lot of ladies ask some guys out with very awkward motives. Always make sure that your motive is pure and direct. Be sure of what you want. Be sure of what that outing or date is all about. Is that clear? The second thing you might need to consider is to plan the set of activities that will be going on in that date. You have to be sure of the set of activities you have outlined for that date. And you know, it's not going to revolve around ladies. You need to understand that. You're asking a guy out, you're moving out with a guy. You're not going to be doing things that will not be interesting to that guy. Like follow me to the salon, and the guy will go and sit down there like he's the only guy in that salon and all those kind of things. You understand? It will be boring and embarrassing. Like, she brought me out just to take me to a salon. Make sure it's not to go to your tailor to collect a cloth. And make sure it's not to go to one of your girlfriend's place to gossip. And make sure it's not for a fight. Some people just say, follow me to somewhere, and they are just going to do a fight, whether it's indirect or direct fights. Maybe like they want to prove a point, they want to show somebody I have a guy or something, you just want to blush, sorry. Make sure it's not any of those motives. You have to define the set of activities and make sure it's something a guy would like to engage in. Remember the first one, you have to define your motive. Secondly, you have to determine the set of activities that will be going on, or plan those set of activities to be such that if you call that person again, he would want to follow you out on a date. The third thing you might need to consider is that you need to have your own money. Of course, yes, you have to have your own money. You cannot be planning in someone's pocket, especially when you're asking the person out. The guy did not plan the date. He did not plan an outing. Let me turn off this stew. I think the tomatoes is okay so that I don't burn my stew. Once it's done, we're good to go. But as I was saying, make sure you're not planning in that guy's pockets. Make sure that you are loaded in cash as to be able to take care of the activities that will be involved in that outing, like your transportation if you're not driving, like refreshments, like any unforeseen contingency and all that. Please make sure you have your own money, you planned the activity, you foot the bills. Except maybe the guy is trying to be a gentleman and decides that you take that he takes the bills, you don't put it on him. Somebody will say this woman is funny. Yes, I'm just being honest with you. I'm just being honest with you. That is also because you want to be addressed. You don't want to be perceived as an opportunistic fellow. You have to help to protect yourself too and make the person think very nicely of you. Yeah. Then you have to also retain your femininity. Yeah. Very difficult for a lot of ladies to do these days. What I mean, retain your femininity. You're actually the one taking the person out. You don't have to throw it on his face. Like, I brought you here, I'm footing your bills. You just get saucy. Femininity is gentle. Femininity is bold. Femininity is articulate. Femininity is decisive. You have to maintain your femininity. When I mean femininity, I mean you have to, first of all, show that I'm a disciplined human being. I'm not just a flex. That I asked you out doesn't mean that I want to take advantage of you or I have ulterior motive. You have to also show that you are responsible. Like, I'm femme. You understand? But I am feminine. I'm there's this feminine behavior that would want a guy to be with you. You have to retain your femininity. You don't have to be hard. You don't have to, okay, let me put it this way. You have to be like difficult to get, easy to live with. When I mean difficult to get, like you're not a cheap flirt. Even as I am out with you, I know my values. I know where you cannot take advantage of me. I know what I want. Difficult to get, but easy to live with. You're also not going to do like you are bossy, you are saucy, you are what have you, such that the guy inside him will be saying, who does she think she is? After this, I don't think I can go into this. There are many reasons for a date. Number one, it might just be to enjoy somebody's company. Number two, it might just be to get that person. Maybe you've been friends for a long time, or just get that person, get a little bit committed, or there are results you are expecting. Make sure you are very articulate about them and not to defeat the purpose. For some people, they might want to be getting out a proposal from that outing, but you don't say it. It's from how you carry yourself that you know whether you will get the results, and don't expect to have those results right away from that date. They are just building enablers, just putting the steps. Do you understand me? So you have to retain your femininity. You have to be responsible. Retain your femininity. You have to be decisive. You know what you want. Then, that vulnerability, the feminine charm. I'm built for this and that and that and that. You understand? So, that is very important for you to know. I'm built to suit or complement your kind. Together we become complete, or have to also retain your femininity. The next thing you might need to also do is to decide the duration and try not to exceed it. Decide the duration of that date. If I'm going out with you, make up your mind and say it's going to be for 1 hour, it's going to be for 30 minutes, it's going to be for 20 minutes, and all the likes. You understand what I'm talking about? Yeah. Don't exceed it significantly. That is, this date is to last for 4 hours, and when it's time, do not exceed it significantly. Maybe the person is saying, I want you to stay a little more. I'm enjoying this company. Let's stay a little more. Don't be so hard to reject that offer, but don't also exceed the limit significantly. Maybe an extra 30 minutes to also show that you are not selfish and that you consider that person too as having choices. Remember, decide the duration of that outing. Now, I want you to also know that you have to let your activities be what you can do with a guy. Let it be what you can do with a guy. It could be sporting activities, it could be driving, it could be anything that a guy would enjoy doing. Then position yourself to have a dream or vision and not clueless, jobless, or wasteful. Don't be manipulative or dishonest. Just be honest. But you have to show that you have a life. Don't be manipulative. Some females are a little bit empty. You have to show that you have something upstairs. Position yourself like you have a dream, like you are pursuing something, not like you are empty. And the person is like, what does she think life is? What does she even have? Is there any sense in her or brain? I just don't know. Position yourself as someone that is pursuing something. And you have your dream, you have steps to achieving your dreams, like you're going somewhere, and that person won't be thinking like he's going to fall into a ditch with you. This is the little we can take for now. Remember, I'm making some food. We will continue next time. Just ask me any question you want, and we will talk about it next time in my next video. I've not exhausted this topic, but I'm going to be stopping here now. Ciao.